الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدي محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فنسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى فنسأل الله عز وجل أن يجعلنا وإياكم من المستمعين للقول والمتبعين أحسنه إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. ثم أما بعد, so now we are going to talk about شروط لوجوب الأداء, the conditions which make it obligatory upon you to fast. The first one he says, المؤلف حفظه الله عز وجل, he says الصحة من مرض, that a person should be healthy and not sick. But what does this mean? Like a lot of Muslims ask the question, like I'm feeling a bit dizzy, I have a slight headache. Like where do we define this kind of sickness which allows me not to fast, or maybe which obliges me to break my fast? So let us have a look. بأن يخاف زيادة المرض أو بطء البرء من المرض أو يكون صحيحا يخشى أن يمرض بالصوم. These are three things. Either when a person is afraid to become sick, or a person fears that he's becoming healthy will be delayed by fasting, or that, the first one is that one is afraid that his sickness will increase. The second one is that his health, he's being cured, will be delayed. Or three, that he is not sick but is afraid to become sick. Now, the fear here is not for him to decide. It is for a doctor to decide, right? Like you wake up in the morning, well, I think I'm going to get sick if I fast today. Well, then that's a problem, right? So they say it is either it goes back to an expert, or two, because it reoccurs. Meaning, like if you know that when you fast, for example, you have no doctor around. Last time when you fasted, all of a sudden you had a headache, you started trembling, shivering, and the doctor said don't fast. Now next Ramadan you have the same thing. Same thing is happening. Well, now you can tell yourself, I'm not going to fast based on what the doctor said last time, until I go to the doctor, and if he then says fast, then I will make up that day and so forth. So it is either a doctor or because it is reoccurring. Is that clear? No. So now they also say when you fear that your cure is being delayed, who knows that? The doctor. It's not you. Okay? If there is no doctor around, then you go by what you feel honestly. Okay. He says, وحجة ذلك قوله جل وعلا فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. When someone is sick or someone is a traveler, then he fasts these days later on. Okay, so that's the first reason. But the thing is, barakallahu fikum, sometimes the days are very long, aren't they? They're very long here. Especially like 2 years ago, it was even longer. Like people were fasting for 17, 18 hours, in some places 19 hours, and that's very exhausting. Now, when you are a pilot, for example, even an international pilot, you need to fly all the time. You need to transport people in a bus, for example, on a train, subway. You need to operate people. You're a surgeon. Now, people say some people give a fatwa, they say, well, that's dangerous. So if you are not able to take off days of work, then you shouldn't be fasting because you are putting people in danger. When you are exhausted, you can't concentrate and so forth. We say no, this can't be a generalized fatwa. Why? Because fasting or not fasting is an individual thing and not a general thing. Is that understood already? Meaning that every single person should be observed and should be examined in a certain way. Meaning that it might be applicable for you but not for that person. And every person, even though that he or she might know that eventually he or she will stop fasting, should start the day of Ramadan fasting unless one is really sick. Meaning that if I work, for example, I melt iron and gold in a factory. Sometimes these ovens, they are 3,000 degrees Celsius or more, right? So I'm working there and these kettles, they are open, right? So it is very warm, I'm exhausted, This might cost the life when I'm not what? When I'm not paying enough attention, when I'm not sufficiently concentrated. So what happens now, we are going to tell these people, start fasting. And the moment you see that it becomes dangerous for you, or you become a danger to others, then you break your fast. But you can't, because yesterday it happened, you can't say it will happen every day. So nobody who should be fasting is allowed to start his day while not fasting, even though that he might be expecting that eventually he might be exhausted or may come in a situation where he doesn't focus as much, but that doesn't give him the green light to start the day without fasting. Is that clear? Otherwise he would be sinning. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And this is why also for students, and then I will answer your question, sometimes for students there was a fatwa in Belgium from the Muslim authority in Belgium, and they said students and university students don't have to fast during the exam period. That's one of the strangest fatwas ever. You can't give a general fatwa like this, because people will do it while some of them might be able to do it. Some people study even better while they are fasting. The majority of victories of Muslims was while they were fasting. Fasting is the month of energy, the month of Quran, the month of prayer. The Muslim is never so active as he is during the month of Ramadan, isn't it? Praying, Quran, visiting, eating, whatever. So anyway, general fatwas are the most terrible thing that has been invented today. Al-fatwa ala al-hawa adatan bil-hawa. Now the fatwa online, on the air, is usually filled with hawa, with passion. There's a fatwa ala al-hawa takunu bil-hawa. Now, yes? That was your question. Okay. Subhanallah. Ajib. So then the second one. So we have al-khuluwu min haydin aw nifas. Yani that one is free from menstruation or postnatal bleeding. فعن معاذة سألت عائشة رضي الله عنها فقلت ما بال الحائض تقضي الصوم ولا تقضي الصلاة فقالت أحرورية أنت قلت لست يعني so this is very interesting. يعني معاذة asks Aisha رضي الله عنها يعني Mu'adha asks Aisha رضي الله عنها, what is going on with a woman who menstruates that she makes up her fasting but not her prayer? Then Aisha رضي الله عنها said, are you from the Hururiyya? Yani, are you from the Khawarij? Are you from the Khawarij? Why? Because some would say they need to make up fasting but also prayer. Like some of these kinds of verdicts have been given lately in Turkey as well. So are you? And then she said, no, I am not. ولكني أسأل. I'm just asking. قالت كان يصيبنا ذلك. Yani we used to have menstruation or postnatal bleeding and so forth. نعني فنؤمر بقضاء الصوم ولا نؤمر بقضاء الصلاة. And we were obliged to make up our fasting but not our prayers. Now, there can be a logic behind it, but this logic will always remain a philosophical debate. So you can say the reason why is because there are 5 prayers, and this is more difficult because 5 prayers times, for example, 7 or more or less is 35. To make it up is much more difficult. Then we could say no, making up fasting is more difficult, more exhausting, more. So it remains a philosophical debate. So very often in these kind of things, the first thing we need to do is sami'na wa ata'na, and then we look for the illah. Yani the first thing we say is we hear and we obey, and that is sufficient as a reason that Allah has ordered it. Because when you look at Surah Al-Ma'idah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the different kinds of animals we are allowed to eat and not allowed to eat, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah yahkumu ma yurid. Allah legislates whatever He wants. So you shouldn't be looking for any reason apart from that first reason. Because it's an ibtila. Because some people would like to eat a certain kind of animal that is not allowed to be eaten. So it remains a test. The awamir wa nawahi is the test. And then usually people look for the reason behind it because they want to put their soul, their thoughts at rest. Okay, it's because of that. But maybe it's not. You understand? So this is why Aisha radiallahu anha didn't give any illah. She didn't give any hikmah, any wisdom behind it. She said, كنا نؤمر يعني بقضاء الصوم ولا نؤمر بقضاء الصلاة. Yani we were ordered to do this and not to do that. Yani to make up sawm, not prayers. Okay? Not to say that a woman who doesn't fast during the month of Ramadan because of menstruation, for example, that she is in a state of worship. Because she not fasting is being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know? So all the time that she doesn't fast while she wants to be fasting is worship. And her broken heart that she says, I would like to fast, has what? Has even two dimensions. One, she's not fasting, it's a worship. Two, she desires to perform another worship, to give something up for Allah, it's a double worship. So this is shaitan, he saddens people. And then sometimes women ask the question, am I allowed to use medicine or pills, whatever, to stop menstruation so that I can what? Fast all of Ramadan? We say no. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has created the woman like that. And her not fasting is a form of worship. And secondly, stopping this process is not healthy anyway for the body. It deregulates the body and everything which has to do with it. So no, there's no reason for this. There's no reason whatsoever. Okay. Then الإقامة فلا يجب أداء صيام رمضان على المسافر. يعني then secondly الإقامة. يعني is that you should be, yani, in order for sawm to be obligatory upon you, is that you are a resident and not a traveler. No? فلا يجب أداء صيام رمضان على المسافر. So the musafir, the traveler, does not have to fast. نعم. ولكن يجب عليه قضاؤه. يعني but he's obliged to make up the fasting. نعم. والحجة في ذلك. نعم. And the argumentation or the proof that we deliver for this is أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. Or when someone is traveling, then what? Then he makes it up later on. So now what is important, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the companion, made it very clear that sometimes we can have something which is a bid'ah in thinking that one is sinning while one is not sinning. Meaning, like he said that if someone performs Salat al-Duha every morning, like when the sun rises, you perform your Salat al-Duha, Shuruq, whatever, you pray this. Now, sometimes he said you should leave it, so that you wouldn't feel like a sinner when you leave it. You understand? Sometimes when you don't do something, you will feel like if you were sinning, and that which you are doing is bad. While in reality, barakallahu fikum, you are not doing anything wrong. Is that clear? So anyway, so sometimes people feel bad because they don't fast while they are traveling. They say, but my travel is not difficult. I'm on a plane. The Prophet ﷺ used to travel on a camel. Now we are just sitting, I'm flying. Travel, the Prophet ﷺ made it clear that the safar is qit'atun min al-adhab. Safar is a portion of punishment. It's always a kind of exhaustion, of fatigue, always. Even if you travel on a train, you feel it, right? So shaitan then comes and says, no, you should be fasting. He also wants you to feel bad taking Allah's ease. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves for the servant to accept His presence, yani where He makes it easy upon the servant. He loves this. Like when you give someone a present and you say, I don't want it, keep it for yourself, I don't need it, that's not polite, is it? So let us have a look. عن حمزة بن عمرو رضي الله عنه قال قلت يا رسول الله إني صلى الله عليه وسلم إني صاحب ظهر أعالجه أسافر عليه نعم. He says, I have mounts that I rent. نعم. يعني ظهر. He has animals that he rents out. نعم. Sorry. So anyway, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a young person and I go out and I mount these animals and then I'm traveling. And he said, but I am young. I'm able to what? I'm able to fast. Should I then be fasting, Ya Rasulullah, when it is easy for me? Or is it better for me to leave it and then pay it back as a debt? And then the Prophet ﷺ, he asked, Ya Rasulullah, when I fast, is this a bigger reward than if I were not to fast? And then the Prophet ﷺ said, whatever you choose. Meaning it doesn't matter. It's not better, it's not worse. You see, it doesn't matter. Because both are allowed, right? So here, and this is in Mustadrak of Imam al-Hakim. And then عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال كنا نغزو مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في رمضان فمنا الصائم ومنا المفطر فلا يجد الصائم على المفطر ولا المفطر على الصائم يرون أن من وجد قوة فصام فإن ذلك حسن ويرون أن من وجد ضعفا فأفطر فإن ذلك حسن. And he said, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we were in a battle during the month of Ramadan. Some amongst us were fasting and some amongst us were what? How do you say not fasting? Is there not one word to describe it? Eating. Yeah. Some of us were fasting and others were eating. And those who were fasting didn't have any grudges against those who didn't. And those who didn't fast didn't have any grudges against those who were fasting. And they were considering this to be good and that to be good. And in the hadith it says, those who found strength to fast were fasting. And those who felt they were weakened, what? They didn't fast. So can we take away from this that when you find strength, that it's better for you to fast? Let us have a look. He says, عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه قال من أفطر فرخصة ومن صام فالصوم أفضل. Yani if you don't fast, even if it's without a reason, even if you have strength, then this is what? Then this is facilitated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you fast, so if you don't fast, it's a facilitation. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you do fast, then fasting is better. You see, if you do fast, then fasting is better. I'm a bit tired. I drove 6 hours today. Yes. Yesterday I taught in Belgium until 11 o'clock at night. Then I woke up this morning. We drove 6 hours from Belgium to then I changed my clothes and came immediately here. And then I taught 1 hour and a half online. Then I taught first class here, and this is the second one. So if you see me go like, whoop, that's me being awake and sleepy at the same time. But not meaning I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, because I want to finish this, yes. I would like a coffee. Because I just felt like my brain was going to sleep while my body was awake. Anyway, let's continue. So we said, Ustad Abdullah, we said that if one finds the strength to fast, then fasting is better. But even if one finds the strength to fast and he or she doesn't, he's not a wrongdoer. Is that clear? There is no blame on that person. Yes, during the safar. Yes, during the safar. But of course, if one finds Imam al-Nawawi, Shafi'i, of course, he has some different approaches here. And he says when someone finds strength, then it's better for him, strongly liked for him to fast. It would be disliked not to fast. If someone is weakened, but not up to a degree where he falls short in what he needs to do or to concentrate on what he needs to concentrate on, then it is better for him to continue fasting. And if he is weakened, like really weak, then it's better for him to break his fast. So we have all is good. Fasting is better, but no blame if you don't fast while traveling. Okay. الثالث شروط لصحة الأداء. Yes. We are going to talk about this as well later on. Inshallah. شروط لصحة الأداء. The conditions which need to be present for your fasting to be a correct fasting. That's شروط صحة الأداء أو الأداء. The first one is النية. فلا يصح أداء الصوم إلا بالنية. يعني be intention. There, even if you were not to eat and drink without an intention during all Ramadan, that's problematic. You need an intention because the Prophet ﷺ said, إنما الأعمال بالنيات. He says, وسيأتي تفصيل ذلك بإذن الله. يعني سيأتي تفصيل الكلام عن أحكام النية. He will later on in detail talk about everything which has to do with intention. Now it's just to mention the shurut. That's all he wants to do here. Yes.
And it comes to the school of thought. Is it intention every day or is it
That's what he said. All the details will come.
okay.
Yes. So what he's trying to do now is just mention the conditions without getting into details. So all the details which have to do with intention, yani, you will find more than you can dream of. Inshallah. Yes. عن عائشة, then he says الخلو عما ينافيه من حيض ونفاس وعما يفسده. نعم. Yani he says, and the second condition for the sawm to be accepted and legit is that one is free of everything which goes against an accepted sawm, like being in the state of menstruation or postnatal bleeding, or of anything which breaks the sawm. Is that clear? He says, وَلَا يُشْتَرَطُ الْخُلُوُّ عَنِ الْجَنَابَةِ وَإِنْ أَثِمَ بِتَرْكِ الصَّلَاةِ مثلا. Yani, if someone is in janaba, yani in a state where someone has been intimate, or when someone had a dream and so forth. So when someone is in a state of janaba, then that doesn't annul his sawm. Is that clear? So even if you wake up and it would be time for sawm and one would be in the state of janaba because of doing something before the sunrise, then your sawm would still be sahih. No? And if you then miss your prayer, yani, then that's another sin. That's a sin. But being in janaba does not what? Annul your what? Your sawm. Then عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدركه الفجر في رمضان وهو جنب نعم من غير حلم فيغتسل ويصوم. In this hadith, which is in Sahih Muslim, the Aisha radiallahu anha says the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sometimes in the month of Ramadan it would be Fajr while he was in the state of janaba, not because of an erotic dream, meaning because of intimacy, and then he would perform the ghusl and fast. Is that clear? Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much. I hope you made it like very strong. Yes. It was so beautiful. Like he's teaching us a bit how to shoot arrows. I never saw him shoot, just once. That was like 10 minutes ago. He said, yes, when you, it's not to praise you, it's just be happy with what Allah gave you, right? So, and we are there like thinking, okay, we can't even hit anything almost, but it's becoming better now. And then he says, yes, what you need to do when you take the arrow, put your shoulders to the back and you just go, and you say, Allah, boom, right in the bullseye. And I said, okay, now I know why he's my teacher. So this is when you are an expert, when you shoot correctly without aiming. You just made it worse. Like this hadith is in the Sahih Bukhari. Oh, sorry, I wasn't even thinking, Yes. MashaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your effort. Ameen. And for always being in the mosque. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day, he came and he said, where is that lady who's dressed in black? And they said, who? He says, the one that cleans the mosque. They said, she died yesterday. And then he was like, annoyed is the wrong word, but he didn't like it. And he said, why didn't you tell me? And they said, they thought it was an insignificant person, which was just a lady cleaning the mosque, right? And then he said, bring me to her. And then they stood at her grave and made dua for her. So, and people say this is one of the merits of people who take care of the mosque. That the dua for the Prophet ﷺ is for them. And they will have light in their graves because they were light in the mosque. So when you are here, when everybody's gone and you keep on doing this, then just think about that hadith. It's so beautiful. SubhanAllah. Now, subhanallah. And then in another hadith, يعني سلمة رضي الله عنها said كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصبح جنبا من جماع ثم لا يفطر ولا يقضي. No? And this is also in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would sometimes wake up in a state of janaba. She said because of intimacy and not because of a dream. And then he would not eat and he would not make up the day. Meaning that if someone wakes up in janaba, that he can just continue what? Fasting. It doesn't put you in a state where you are not fasting.
Doesn't matter part or
yes. No. المطلب السابع نية الصيام. يعني the seventh research is about the niyyah, the condition in Sawm. وتفصيل الكلام في أحكام النية في النقاط التالية. يعني he says he's going to divide it. He's an academic. He's a professor, right? And the head of the Hanafi Fiqh department in Jamiat al-Balqa. So he wrote more than, I think now, 100 books, all about fiqh. All about fiqh, subhanallah. So anyway, Al-Ula, I regret I only studied 2 books with him. We did Tuhfatul Muluk and Al-Lubab, or in a part of Hashiyat al-Tahtawi. الأولى تعريف النية والتلفظ بها. يعني first getting to know the niyyah and saying the niyyah out loud. أولا لغة. يعني نويته أنويته أي قصدته. يعني I aim for something. Niyyah is wanting something, wanting to attain something. والاسم النية. ثم خصت النية في غالب الاستعمال بعزم القلب على أمر من الأمور. يعني it is about what you want to do with your heart. Niyyah is referring to what is your intention. Then he says اصطلاحا هي جزم القلب على ما يريد الاتيان به من الصوم. يعني it is that you have the intention to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by fasting. Then he says أو معرفته بقلبه أنه يصوم. Now that he, while fasting, is aware that he is fasting to please Allah. So that's another way to say it. He says, and then he says, وَاعْتُبِرَ قِيَامُهُ لِلسَّحُورِ بِقَصْدِ الصَّوْمِ نِيَّةً. Important. He says, and waking up in the morning, you say, oh, I need to wake up now because I still need to take my futur. He says, this is niyyah. Even though you didn't say fasting. You woke up with the niyyah to what? To have your breakfast before sunrise. That is a niyyah. Naam.
if you set up an alarm
Yes.
for the suhoor, that doesn't mean that you need
That's the same thing. Like you have your but we will see whether in the Hanafi fiqh one niyyah at the beginning is sufficient, yes or no, right? But yani we say what? We say that if you were to put your alarm clock, then your alarm clock is your niyyah, right? So that's it. Now, Allah. He says, يستحب للصائم أن يتلفظ بنيته لما في التلفظ من الاستحضار للنية وتلفظه هكذا نويت أن أصوم غدا أو هذا اليوم إن نوى نهارا لله عز وجل من فرض رمضان. يعني he says, and it is recommended for the Sa'im to say, I have the intention to fast tomorrow. Why? Especially today, we should know that our fuqaha, barakallahu fikum, yani they say these things because they know that we live in a time where people forget. We do many things without even thinking about them, right? The proof is our biggest worship, we sometimes forget. Allahu Akbar. Oh yeah, it's Dhuhr. Sometimes people say Allahu Akbar. True, right? You say Allahu Akbar and then you ask yourself, is this Maghrib or Isha? Maghrib. Well, this is wrong. You should start all over again. Because the niyyah should be before you end your takbiratul ihram, right? So if you don't know which prayer you are praying and you're already after the takbir, you need to start your prayer again. And this is why our scholars say, like التلفظ بالنية في أصلها بدعة. Now meaning, pronouncing the niyyah out loud is an innovation, لغة, لا شرعا. Yani from a linguistic point of view, it is something new. But if it helps you to do that which is fard, ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. يعني that which is a means to the wajib and without which it does not happen is wajib. So if your niyyah in the salah is wajib and you can only do it by doing talaffudu, by saying the niyyah out loud, then saying the niyyah out loud without disturbing people next to you. Now, it's not like Allahu Akbar, Allah, just for yourself, becomes wajib. The same with Sawm. Because if you don't have your niyyah, you're just looking at the news and everything, and you fall asleep and then you wake up after Fajr, then you might have a problem according to the madhab you follow. Right? If in your madhab you need to renew your niyyah every night, for example, you see? So this is why our scholars, they give us the advice to do talaffuz bin niyyah, and this is mustahab. Mustahab because it leads to completing a wajib. ولا تبطل النية بالمشيئة. ولا تبطل النية بالمشيئة. أي أصوم غدا إن شاء الله لأنه يقصد الاستعانة وطلب التوفيق لا حقيقة الاستثناء. So even if someone would say, I'm fasting, inshallah, tomorrow I will be fasting, this is also a niyyah. Because when he says inshallah, he doesn't mean it like the cultural inshallah. Are you coming tomorrow? Inshallah, meaning I'll see. No, when he means if God wants, I will be fasting. So it is a form of dua, it is a form of relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this mashi'ah, when it's a religious inshallah, is no problem. When it is a cultural inshallah, I will see, then that's shak. That's doubt. Okay? He says, لو نوى الصيام وهو يصلي فإن نيته صحيحة ولا تفسد الصلاة إلا إذا تلفظ بالنية. So even if you have the niyyah while you are praying, I will fast, then that niyyah in your salah is accepted. But you are not allowed to say the niyyah out loud. If you say the niyyah out loud, your salah is batila. No? Your salah is batila. Unless you say, for example, in your dua, in Fajr prayer, for example, you say, for example, Ya Rabbi a'inni ala as-sawm al-yawm. Oh Allah, assist me to fast today. In your dua, you're saying this. Well, this is then also niyyah. Because you're asking Allah to help you in your fasting. Is that clear? So it is either by thinking or whatever it may be. The reason why you can ask, why is this necessary? Well, maybe you woke up with Fajr and it's about the prayer time is about to what? To expire. So now you say Allahu Akbar and you might forget your niyyah because you didn't wake up before what? Before sunrise. Or you didn't wake up on time. So this is why they say you can then do your niyyah in your salah. Does that make sense? So our scholars, when they say this, it's not just for the fun of it or the sake of it. You should know that our books of madahib, they are built on, subhanAllah, on more than 1,200 years of information. So even if some of the things don't appear as logical to you, they have included all the things which people would ask the scholars and the jurists, they have included it in books. And maybe it's not for you, but maybe for somebody else. You see? So now he says, لو نوى الصيام فقال أصوم غدا إن شاء الله فلا تبطل النية بالمشيئة لأنه يقصد الاستعانة. We said that already. وطلب التوفيق لا حقيقة الاستثناء. شروط النية. The conditions for the niyyah. 1. البقاء عليها. That you don't annul, that you don't come back on your niyyah. Okay? He says, فَلَوْ رَجَعَ عَمَّا نَوَى لَيْلًا لَمْ يُصِرْ صَائِمًا وَلَوْ أَفْطَرَ لَا شَيْءَ عَلَيْهِ وَلَوْ عَادَ إِلَى تَجْدِيدِ النِّيَّةِ فِي وَقْتِهَا صَحَ صِيَامُهُ. He says, you should hold on to this niyyah. If you had the intention during the night to fast, we're not talking about Ramadan. During the night you had the intention to fast. You sleep. You wake up and you say, I don't fast today. Then you don't have to fast today. Why? Because your niyyah was before the waqt where you would do the sawm, and this is when it's not a fard. And then you don't need to make up this sawm. Now, if you were to have said it after sunrise and you say, I'm going to fast today, then your nafilah now turned into something you need to do qada of. Remember, you need to make up the sawm that you promised to do, which was not obligatory. How did we call this sawm? We said there is a fard muayyan, fard غير muayyan, there is a what? A wajib muayyan, wajib غير muayyan. What is this one?
واجب
wajib
غير معين
غير معين. What do you say?
So what's the question?
Which kind of sawm is it when I broke my promise that I was going to fast a nafila today, an extra fasting? In the Hanafi fiqh, when you break that fast, you need to make it up. You need to make up this fasting. So it becomes obligatory upon you to do that. Is it now fard or wajib? Wajib. Why?
Because you started something that was not obligatory. And
To start with,
so now,
right?
and you broke it, so now you have to make
And is it muayyan or غير muayyan?
it.
It all depends. If it was a nafila which was a nether which became wajib, it's different. But it's, as you said, it's غير muayyan. No. Okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
can I just clarify that for you? So if you are going to fast and definitely fast, say for example,
He's going to give some examples. Maybe some of them will be there. He says, and if it's not there, please tell me. Yeah? لو نوى الصيام ليلا في رمضان أو النذر المعين ثم نوى الرجوع عن صيامه في الليل فإنه يلزمه القضاء ولا يجب عليه الكفارة لشبهة خلاف من اشترط التبييت. لو نوى صيام رمضان أو النذر المعين أو النفل ليلا ثم رجع عن نيته في الصيام ثم عاد إلى نية الصيام قبل الزوال وكان ممسكا عن الأكل والشرب والوطء فإنه يصح صيامه. Now, for example, during the night, you say, I am not going to fast tomorrow because I'm sick. No? So you are sick, so you say, I'm not going to fast. Then during the day, when you wake up, you say, I'm going to fast. You can. If you now say during the night, I'm going to fast, and in the morning you wake up, you're sick, and you say, I can't fast, then you just need to make up the day. Is that clear? Now if I say, I start the day where I say, I can't fast. Like I sleep and I say, I can't fast. I'm sorry, I'm sick. And I say, I can't fast tomorrow. Then when I wake up, I'm still sick, but during the day it goes away. Now I will not have to do what? Kafara. I will have to do qada. Is that clear? Now, if I say in the evening, I think I'm going to be sick, I feel I'm becoming sick, so I will not wake up, right? And when I wake up, my last thing was, I'm not going to fast. And now the zawal has already passed. Then I will have to make up the fasting and I will have to do kafara. Why? Because I was not sick when I had the niyyah not to fast. Is that clear? So if I were to have come back on my niyyah before the zawal, it would only have been qada, and there would not be qada and kafara. You see the difference? So this is why even when you're sick, intend to fast the next day. And when you wake up and you see you can't, then you have the udhr. But if you have the intention, I will not fast, and you wake up as a healthy person and you pass the zawal, then what? Then you have a problem, isn't it? No.
Can you mention the first one again?
No. لو نوى الصيام ليلا في رمضان. If during the night of Ramadan you have the intention to fast, or النذر المعين, نعم. ثم نوى الرجوع عن صيامه في الليل. And then during the night you come back on your niyyah. So you have the niyyah to fast. Then in the same night you say, I'm not going to fast. فَإِنَّهُ يَلْزَمُهُ الْقَضَاء. He needs to make up that fast when he does not fast. But this is not just for anybody, that's for somebody with an excuse, right? This is why I said a sick person, not just, well, I'm going to fast tomorrow, well, I'm not. It's really about a person that doubts because of his situation. No? So then he says, and he comes back on it, then he doesn't need to do kafara, right? Okay? Because he hasn't started the fasting yet. It all happened during the night, isn't it? Now, وَلَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ الْكَفَّارَةِ لِشُبْهَةِ خِلَافِ مَنِ اشْتَرَطَ التَّبْيِيت. Yani we see that in the Maliki fiqh, in other madhahib, they have the tabyit, they have the ta'yin, they have the ta'zim, and they have all different, of al-azima, all different categories which need to be present every night before fasting, for example. Now we will see in the Hanafi fiqh, is it sufficient at the beginning or do we need every day?
It is opinion take from the beginning.
Yes, from the beginning, unless it is interrupted. So you have one niyyah at the beginning of Ramadan, you say, I have the niyyah to fast entire Ramadan, then you don't need a niyyah each night. Why? Because it is like one worship, if you understand what I mean. Some say, like, unless it is interrupted by sickness, by travel, or by menstruation and so much more. Because now it is interrupted, because now once again you are in a state where you are not allowed to fast. So what are you going to do now? You need to do tajdeedun niyyah. You need to renew your intention. So if because of one reason or the other you weren't able to fast, you are going to renew your niyyah again.
For the rest of the days.
What?
For the rest of the days.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And your niyyah is during the night which precedes the day, not the day where you're in. Now it's going to be during the night. Now.
Say that you're interrupted, and but then you've got to renew your niyyah.
Yes.
What you know in your heart is Ramadan.
Well, that's what he said, right? He said when you fast and your qalb is aware that you are fasting, that's your niyyah. Because otherwise it will turn into waswasa, right? Like you start again, the fact that you start, but if you now, for example, pass your day without even thinking it's Sawm, it's Ramadan, it's whatever, and you just don't eat and drink, but the niyyah or the azm or the idea that you are fasting didn't come to your mind, then you were not fasting. So that's different. Yes.
Sorry, can you just explain that first bit again with an example? So that was you explained during Ramadan about not coming back on the niyyah.
Yes.
What about if you're doing a nafil, like it's a Monday,
Yes.
and so on Sunday night you make the niyyah to fast tomorrow, but you wake up in the morning and
And you don't fast, you don't have to make it up. Why? Because you didn't start your day fasting, because while you were asleep, the moment that Psalm started, you were asleep, right? So it is only from the moment you wake up now that you will then either be fasting or not, if you understand what I mean. So it is during the day you can still come back on it if you fell asleep like that. But if you now, when you wake up, you say, I'm fasting in your mind. You say, oh, I'm fasting today. And then immediately, 1 second later, you come back on it, khalas, you need to make up that day. No? Which is a good thing. No.
You said you make the niyyah for the next day during the night before.
Mm.
So you can't do it the day. So I mean, for example,
Yes, you do it at night, yes. Because the night is a part of the day. And because that is where your worship starts, if you understand what I mean.
if I do the niyyah before Maghrib,
No.
Monday, for the Tuesday, that would be wrong.
Yes. You do the tabitu niyyah, and the tabit is the night before that day. No. Okay. So now this is very important. The thing here is he said, أن يعلم بقلبه أنه صائم. And also even if you didn't have a specified niyyah, but when you wake up, you know I'm fasting, it's Ramadan, your sawm is valid. So we won't say, no, you didn't really mention it, you didn't think it. No, بقلبه يعرف. This is sufficient. Is that clear? Okay. Then he continues. Okay. وقت النية, the time of the niyyah. So this is where our scholars differ about. Right? He says صوم رمضان والنفل تكون نية أدائه من الليل إلى ما قبل نصف النهار الشرعي على الأصح. So the niyyah should take place during the night or before the half of the day. Yani the half of the day, they mean before Dhuhr. Okay. وإنما تجوز النية قبل نصف النهار الشرعي إذا لم يوجد قبل ذلك بعد طلوع الفجر ما ينافي الصوم. So he says your niyyah is valid until يعني before Dhuhr. Your niyyah is valid even if you didn't have the niyyah during the night, because it is during the night until the nisf al-nahar al-shar'i. Is that clear? So now even like we see the Prophet ﷺ in the morning after prayer coming to Aisha radiallahu anha and asking her, what do we have to eat today? She says, we have nothing in our home. So he said, إِذَنْ فَإِنِي صَائِمٌ. So I am fasting. So he did that niyyah during the day, but before the half of the nisf al-nahar al-shar'i. So now meaning that you might wake up and not have the intention. You didn't have your breakfast. And it's, for example, the winter days. They are very short, aren't they? So now you say, well, it's already 11 o'clock. Or it's already 10:30. Only 6 hours to go. So why don't I fast then? Yes, let me fast. You can do this as long as you didn't do something which goes against fasting after sunrise. So if a person was intimate or had one sip of water, whatever it may be, then of course one cannot do this. No? So this is what he's saying. وإذا وجد قبله ما ينافيه من الأكل والشرب والجماع عامدا أو ناسيا فلا تجوز النية بعد ذلك. And if he has eaten or if he ate or drank something or was intimate without regards it being deliberate or not deliberately, then what? Then the niyyah is no longer valid. Is that clear? Even if it's before nisf al-nahar.
So is the niyyah just for the nafil fast, or can it be for a make-up fast as well?
What?
So the niyyah that you make, like you just said, if you think about 10 o'clock I should fast the
Yes.
rest of the day, is that niyyah just for a
No.
nafil fast, or it can be for a make-up fast
Make a fast as well.
as well? So
Yeah. But the thing is, if you now say, for example, you say, for example, I think I should be fasting today, that is not a niyyah. So the moment you are still debating with yourself, trying to convince your ego to follow your soul, that is not a niyyah. So I might better be fasting. Should I be fasting? I don't know. This is not a niyyah. Khalas, I'm fasting today. Oh, what did I say? Done. If you don't fast now, you need to make it up. You see? So we said وَالنَّهَارُ شَرْعِي. So we said until the half of a day according to the Sharia. He said وَالنَّهَارُ شَرْعِي يَكُونُ مِنْ اسْتِطَارَةِ الضَّوْءِ فِي أُفُقِ الْمَشْرِقِ إِلَى غُرُوبِ الشَّمْسِ ونصف النهار الشرعي يكون إلى الضحوة الكبرى والضحوة الكبرى تبدأ في كل قطر قبل زوال الشمس بعد أن كانت عمودية إلى وصل بنصف حسة فجر ذلك اليوم أي نصف الوقت من طلوع الفجر إلى طلوع الشمس. So that's what I've explained. So anyway, are there any questions about what we said until now? We have 2 more minutes, inshallah. Yes.
If you make the intention that if I wake up in the morning for Zuhr, I will fast outside of Ramadan, is that a valid niyyah?
Well, say that again. If I wake up,
If I wake up for Zuhr, then I will fast tomorrow. Is that a valid niyyah?
okay, now you connect your suhoor, your fasting to suhoor. Yes, it's ishtirat. There is no problem. Yes, there's no problem because it's a promise. This fasting is a promise connected to a condition that you put yourself. That's no problem. Yes, it's shart mu'allaq. No.
And coming back on the meal,
No.
so, if I am fasting,
Naam, Sayyidi.
I feel stressed, feel bad or sick, and if the thought come to my mind, or maybe I should break it. So do they?
No, it's only when you decide to break it that it's gone. Like if you say, should I break it? That's a question in which you look at your condition. So you are examining. So but if you have the check, am I fasting or not? Khalas, then your fasting is over.
Second question. At the beginning, you mentioned the illness,
Yes.
and if you don't have the doctor, but you
Yes. Reoccurring.
Yeah. My mom, she every single time, the first 1, 2, 3 days, she has a very headache,
Yes.
and her blood pressure goes. And I think if you're bad, maybe it's better for you to break it. But she wants to. She doesn't.
Yes.
She doesn't like it. I mean, breaking it. But
In that situation, one lets the doctor decide. If the doctor says it's bad for her health, then she needs to go by what the doctor says. But usually the elder generation, I mean, not that our parents are old, but they like to hold on to it. They don't want to let go. You know, they say, I don't care. I'm even if I die, I fast. And very often, not in your case, but very often with other people, It's due to an absence of deeper knowledge of the fasting. That one says, no, if I don't fast, then this is bad, then I'm a weak Muslim, then I'm this and that. So it doesn't work like that. So anyway, we go, but a headache, everybody, or the majority of people, the first 2-3 days have a headache, and this is because of the detoxification which is going on, and some of the fat which is burning, therein are toxins and so much more which give a headache, the iron which is being released, and everything. I'm not a doctor, right? But these kind of things happen, so the majority of people have a headache in the first 2-3 days, and some don't, so it all depends. But a doctor should decide. The last question is.
Slightly off topic, but with intention.
Excuse me?
Slightly off topic, but
Yes.
with intention for praying.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing or not, but is it fine to just say, I intend to pray Dhuhr?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So as long as you define it, so some of the scholars would have a formula. They would say نويت أن أصلي 4 ركعات فريضة لله عز وجل صلاة and so forth. So that is a good thing. As long as you mention what you are about to pray, it's good. It's not obligatory, meaning that if you don't say it, your prayer is perfectly fine, as long as you know without a big gap between your prayer and your niyyah. So some people, they say, oh, I got to pray Dhuhr. And then they just said it, but an hour later they pray without this niyyah being very close to the prayer. That would be problematic. Others would say no. Because you standing up to pray is the fact that you are going to pray Dhuhr. But al-istihdar, yani the presence of knowing which prayer you are praying right before your prayer is a prerequisite. No.
Yeah, if you are walking on the street and you hear the adhan,
Yes.
but you don't specify it, but you know that it's adhan for Dhuhr. I mean, and you just go and pray.
Our scholars would say your niyyah needs to be very close to your takbiratul ihram, because the niyyah comes right before your prayer, and defining what you are praying is a part of your prayer, isn't it? So if you pray Asr with the niyyah of Dhuhr, but you already prayed Dhuhr, then you need to pray again. No.
A good question on the niyyah.
No.
In the Jamaat has already started, and you just go in there and then you join the Jamaat.
Yes.
Do you have to make a proper niyyah first, or do you just say Allahu Akbar and then you start?
You need to know what you pray. So the moment before you join for yourself, it needs to be clear. Excuse me?
So I know it is Asr namaz.
Yes, that's okay. So you, as I said, saying it out loud is not obligatory. So your prayer is perfectly okay. Our scholars would recommend to do this because sometimes we forget. So just knowing, okay, I'm going to join and it's Dhuhr in your head, that's sufficient. That's fine. Did you have a question? Okay. So that's inshallah, barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khairan. And then next week we continue with Bismillah. And those who can come, in our first class we speak about, we read the book of Al-Harith al-Muhasibi, which is a scholar of more than 1,150 years ago. And his book is really worth listening to. It's incredible, his words. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.